It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
Caitlin Clark has now had enough. And this time, she won't remain silent. Following the WNBA's surprising kick-out fellow star Sophie Cunningham, and Clark is enraged, calling out the league in a fierce response that fans did not see coming. This isn't simply about one player is sidelined. This is about partiality, power plays, and an increasing divide shaking women's basketball into its core. So, what really happened? Cunningham's unexpected dismissal? Also, why Clark is risking everything to speak out? Buckle up. This controversy is just getting began. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham WNBA collapse. The drama of the WNBA hit a whole new level on June 17, 2025, during a fierce battle between the Indiana Fever and the Phoenix Mercury at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Indianapolis. Two of the league's most prominent names, Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, stood at the center of this latest controversy. What began as competitive high-stakes struggle swiftly erupted into something much greater than basketball. Caitlin Clark is already she became a household name after breaking the record NCAA run and swift ascension to the WNBA. Superstardom has found herself beneath persistent pressure since her profession debut. Her skill set attracts massive crowds. It has received national media attention, but she became a target from both sides. Defenders on the court, critics off it. Clark has won game after game. Physical punishment has been raised. Basketball fans around the world are raising their eyebrows. Some supporters describe it as rookie hazing, while others believe there is something more. There is a personal motivation behind these persistent hits. Sophie Cunningham is recognized for her no-nonsense attitude, and intense loyalty has become Clark's self-appointed bodyguard. Sophie never backed down, following a confrontation. And throughout this specific game, and her protective my instincts kicked in hard. As Clark struck the floor halfway through the second quarter after another hard foul, Cunningham charged in without hesitation. She wasn't even involved in the play, but she made her presence known. Getting directly in the face of the opposing player is liable. The scene unraveled quickly, screaming and shoving. Players pouring into the fray, referees scrambled to retake control. Following a lengthy video review, officials stated their decision. Sophie Cunningham was expelled for escalation. The altercation. Fans erupted on social. Within minutes, media were available. Many spotted Sophie, not as a troublemaker, but as the someone willing to stand up for Caitlin Clark. So, why did Sophie Cunningham stand for Caitlin Clark spark outrage and anarchy in the WNBA? Keep watching. Sophie reached her breaking point. Caitlin Clark's final stand. The roar the audience hadn't even settled after. Sophie Cunningham's dismissal as the situation deteriorated even further. The tension that had built all season between Indiana Fever and the rest of the league came to a head in the last 46 seconds of that game on June 28, 2025. Indianapolis. This was more than merely basketball, is no more. It had changed into something intimate, emotional, and raw. It all began with what fans are today, calling the message foul. The Fever were already trailing by a significant margin. The outcome was no longer a question. However, for Sophie Cunningham, this wasn't about the scoreboard anymore. After spent game after game watching, Caitlin Clark gets hit, shoved, and tripped. Even was jabbed in the eye with little to there was no reaction from the referees. Sophie, she reached her breaking point. As JCS. Sheldon sprints down the court for Sophie closed in and executed a fast break layup. Delivered a hard, clearly intentional foul. The entire arena gasped. The refs didn't take long. Sophie vanished in a flash, slapped with a flagrant, and kicked out. For many, this was more than just a foul. It was a declaration, a warning shot directed at the league's officials. If you will not defend Caitlin, but I will. Fans erupted online, with some criticizing Sophie for going too far, others calling she is a hero because she did what was necessary. Done. Interviews following the game showed just how deeply the frustration ran. When reporters questioned Caitlin about the event, she kept her calm but couldn't keep the displeasure hidden. "Let's talk about basketball," she responded, deflecting. But everyone saw the fire behind her words. Sophie Cunningham never was the quiet type. Known for her black belt in Taekwondo and her fearless attitude in the game, she carries herself with grit and tenacity. But this season, the toughness has tested like never before. Cunningham later, "I stated, I just couldn't sit. Watch Caitlin take another cheap shot. Someone had to send a message." The irony in all this is Caitlin Clark's arrival had almost rescued the WNBA's national profile. Since her debut, attendance numbers increased and jersey sales, TV viewing increased dramatically. Historic highs. Just a few months back, Clark's presence alone filled venues. From Indy to LA, local businesses boomed during game days, and her social media impact brought millions of fresh eyes on women's basketball. But despite all that, Caitlin sat out. Having had a slight injury early this season, WNBA ratings dropped by a stunning amount, 55%. That statistic alone caused shockwaves through the sports media circles. Still, every week, Clark absorbed more strikes with little to no involvement from officials. If it was Marina Mabra's notorious body check, Angel Reese's flagrant to the head, or Izzy Magbagor's forceful block, which sent sprawling the message from the league, everything stayed the same. "You are on your own." Sophie Cunningham took action. Now, here's where Caitlin Clark's frustration reached a breaking point. So, what did Sophie Cunningham do next? Stay tuned. This story is taking an unexpected turn. Caitlin Clark is becoming increasingly frustrated. The Sophie Cunningham was booted out of the game on June 28, 2025, Indianapolis. A terrifying reality settled over the arena. Even Caitlin Clark's protectors were no longer safe. The WNBA did not just eject a player. They sent out a warning to anyone thinking about defending Clark on the court. But if the league believed this would hush, they made a serious error in their calculations. Instead, they ignited a match, which is now transformed into a blaze of fan fury and a national debate. For Caitlin Clark, this wasn't simply about losing a teammate. It cut considerably deeper. The anger, the fire inside her was fanned by increasing double standards that had followed her from her college years till the professionals. Legends like Michael Jordan and Larry Bird had established their careers on ferocity, trash talk, and rawness, competitive fire. They received appreciation for it was considered fierce, unrelenting, and even iconic. Yet, when Clark demonstrates the same, she has been regarded as cocky and contentious. Or worse, the truth stings even more, because the WNBA has never needed her. This terrible Clark's arrival totally changed the league's visibility. Sold-out venues, record TV viewership. The stuff is flying off the shelves. She transformed every Fever game into national event. However, the league seemed unwilling or unable to provide her the basic protections for any star athlete deserves. Now the whispers are getting louder. Could Caitlin Clark really walk away? Could she accept one of the alleged multi-million-dollar proposals from Europe or join a billionaire-supported independent league willing to pay her what she is worth it to keep her safe? Social media is packed with hashtags like Protect. Caitlin Clark allowed the WNBA to crumble. Fans publicly encouraged her to leave for her own well-being. Even fellow players have spoken out. Those who once competed hard against her and now acknowledge I understand her frustration. In post-game interviews with veterans like Diana Taurasi, Brittany Gurrier has encouraged the league to step up. A Phoenix player even joked during the All-Star break, "Hi Caitlin, if you wish to come to Phoenix, please let me know." Just for that fun comment to take on new meaning as the culture worsened. And now, as each day passes, the WNBA is at a critical juncture, a hazardous crossroads. One false move, and they risk losing the single largest women's basketball has never been more popular. So, what happened between one emerging star and her, the fiercest defender, pushed the whole WNBA to the brink? You will not want to miss this. A league split over Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. As the dust settled, on the unforgettable June 28, 2025 last night in Indianapolis, social media was already flames. Within minutes of Sophie following Cunningham's dismissal, fans poured Twitter and Instagram are filled with fury. A user stated that Sophie Cunningham is tossed for sticking up for Caitlin Clark. What's wrong with this league? Another posted, she's the only one willing to have Clark's back. This is the thanks she receives. Court, Caitlin Clark's reaction spoke. Louder than words, she is known for her laser concentrate and refused to let emotions pour outside of games. Caitlin couldn't this time. She kept her frustration hidden. The officials gathered near the scorers. Clark approached the table, and her look, she was anxious and pointing with her hands. Wanted answers. The cameras caught everything second of her quick but pointed exchange with the officials. Later, during post-game interviews, Clark stayed calm, yet her tone conveyed her feelings. Without immediately slamming regardless of the referees or league, she still made it as apparent that Sophie's support was important to her, and playing under this type of constant, unchecked physicality had worn her down. Rough, she conceded, but I value my teammates stood up for me. For many fans, today wasn't just another game day. Plot. It became the most recent chapter. They observed a developing trend of throughout the season. Clark has received unfair treatment. I had taken elbows to the ribs, body checks to the floor, blindside hits, all with little or no action from the league. Officials. The Cunningham ejection felt Sophie refused to let that be the final straw. Neither the moment nor the hours passed quietly. Following the game, she posted on Instagram, "I'll always ride for my teammates." Period. That single sentence became viral. Former WNBA players, ESPN analysts, including a few current NBA players stepped into the conversation. Some complimented Sophie for her loyalty, backbone, while others debated whether she'd gone too far. The following morning, the WNBA League office issued a statement supporting the officials. In-game decision, while confirming that Sophie Cunningham would not face in suspension, was intended to settle things down, but it really poured more. Adding fuel to the fire, fans felt the punishment still did not fit that the league has an uncertain track record on. Meanwhile, Caitlin is safeguarding the players. Clark kept doing what she does best, letting her game speak for itself. Despite the drama, she finished it. Night's game with 28 points and 9 assists and 5 rebounds. However, as the noise grows louder, one question lingers. How long can Clark keep carrying this weight? So the question is, how long can Caitlin Clark, can you handle this developing storm alone? Stay glued. This is what occurs, correct? This is what happens. You have competitive ladies who are the best at the world at what they do, correct? Allowing them to engage in physical play, you allow these things to happen. They'll compete and going to have their teammates' backs. When competition becomes perilous, the WNBA's Caitlin Clark crisis. Clark stepped off the court one after another. Bruising night in Indianapolis, the noise around her just became louder. It was not about one individual having a tough. It was no longer a game or a couple hard fouls. About a league losing control over a problem that has been developing for months. The WNBA's Caitlin Clark controversy has spiraled into something nobody can ignore. What began as difficult physical play is a natural component of high-level. The competition has now transformed into something significantly more harmful. Cheap shots, harsh fouls, on-court targeting, even online bullying by fans and fellow. Each week comes new players. Highlights of Clark being grabbed, shoved, or hit without consequences. The statistics are astonishing. As of June 30th, by 2025, more than 17% of all flagrant fouls this WNBA season has been committed against Caitlin Clark alone. Sinks in. Nearly 1 in 5, and it gets the Chicago Sky is already at the center of several hot Clark-related occurrences, was accountable for a Clark surprising 80% of such calls. Stephanie White, the coach, has had enough. Following another incident-filled game, she stood in front of reporters and called, "Contact the league directly. This has been happening throughout the season. Long," she said. "It is a league-wide issue. When asked about a technical foul delivered, White did not speak to her during the game.
Hold back.
There was no explanation. She said, but it's very apparent things was brewing out there. When officials lose control of a baseball game and enable if you want this to continue, you need to fans are also contacting out. Limit. Social media erupted with comments like, is anyone going to stand? Who's up for Caitlin Clark? And this isn't. Basketball is no more. It's always a brawl.
Night.
Even NBA stars have started, directly addressing Shady McCoy stating, yes, she has a target on her back, but she does not deserve this. The backlash doesn't only come from fans. Sponsors and sports media outlets, they are now paying close attention. Some even questioning whether the WNBA can survive this growing public relations disaster. The league, once enjoying record viewership thanks to Clark's arrival, now makes news, questioning its officiating standards and player safety policies. But the real shock could sponsor pressure and media. Will uproar bring the WNBA to the brink of collapse? Stay tuned to find out. From basketball to the battleground, in each game, the situation surrounding Caitlin Clark turns darker, more frightening. What began as basketball has become more aggressive and physical, crossed the line into something much more dangerous. Hatred is blatant. On June 28th, the 2025 game in Indianapolis was simply the most recent example, but far from the only one. From eye pokes to complete body examinations, Clark has become a walking target. And as the attacks accumulate, the league's silence grows louder. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Angelbert is yet to openly address the rising situation. Fans are noticing. The referees appear to have completely lost control with the game. Following the game, the situation became chaotic. Social media is saturated with frustrated posts, calling the league a circus. And the criticism does not only come from angry people.
Fans.
NBA legends including Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Paul George have publicly spoke out, demanding stronger protection. For Clark, Garnett summarized it best. He said, "Your finest player, you simple. Protect her." But the league's inaction forced Indiana a strong desire to take charge hands. Sophie Cunningham is already known. Caitlin has been known for her grit, on-court bodyguard. Every time Clark takes a hard foul or a cheap shot, Cunningham was the first to step up, delivering a strong message to the rest of the league. Contact Caitlin and deal with
me.
While Sophie's approach has given Clark some breathing space, it's added fuel to the fire. Games which should have been about skill and teamwork, now dominated by fight-related headlines, ejections, and heated clashes. Commentators are saying it aloud. This is no longer basketball. It's a battleground. The repercussions is striking the league where it hurts the most, ratings and revenue. Clark sat out 5 games. Earlier this season, WNBA audience dropped by more than 50%. Ticket sales plummeted. Sponsors became worried. Even team owners began to express worries. The message from fans is now clear. If Caitlin isn't playing, not watching. And the current situation is causing deeper differences throughout basketball community. What previously was a united fan base applauding on the league's expansion has now separated into 2 camps. WNBA loyalists versus Caitlin Clark supporters. It is no longer Indiana fever. Fans versus rival teams. It's millions. Clark fans are venting their frustration, aimed squarely against the league. The media, NBA superstars, and casual sports fans were all watching now. And with every missed call, every violent foul, every unanswered hit, the WNBA's reputation deteriorates worse. The league is playing a risky game. Once more, an injury to Clark could result in permanent damage, not only to her, but to the entire future of the WNBA. But what are your thoughts? Has the WNBA already lost control of the Caitlin? Is the Clark problem endangering the country's future? We would want to hear your comments on the comments. Do not forget to like and share.
And subscribe.